Okay, so what we'll do after, I'll give you the raw file and I'll give you the video link, obviously. So you'll have both, so there's no issues. Because like for the video, if there's like bad lag, obviously I'd edit it, but you'll still have the raw just in case.
All right.
Okay, so are you ready?
Yes.
All right, 3, 2, 1. Alright, what's up everybody? It's Splash here, and today I have Arrow flying with me, or if you want to say what's up.
Hello.
Alright, so Arrow and I have debated each other off and on, I think, since like last year. We've always had dog fights, so I'm pretty sure we're 2 and 2. I don't think we've debated more than 4 times. But we decided we're going to go ahead and have a tiebreaker here. And the topic today will be if a no limits fallacy is a logical fallacy. And the reason I wanted to do this topic is because no limits fallacy is really big in the fiction community, and me and Arrow have been debating in the fiction community for a while. So I thought it was pretty relevant. So today I will be saying it is not a logical fallacy, and Arrow will be saying it is. So, do you want to go first with your premise, or do you want me to?
You can go first, sure.
Okay, for my side, I do not believe the, quote, no limits fallacy, which was birthed in the power scaling community. I don't believe it is a logical fallacy because it does not violate the laws of logic once you put it under scrutiny. So, therefore, I do not think it is logical, and I think the mistakes come between people not differentiating between right and wrong and logic and illogical. So
okay, I believe that it is a logical fallacy because it directly fits the definition of a logical fallacy that is defined in just about every credible source stating what a logical fallacy is. If for all intents and purposes, it does exactly fit the exact definition. So there is no way that you can present the no limits fallacy and it not be a fallacious form of argument.
Okay, so first we'll establish, I guess, an agreement upon what the no limits fallacy is. What do you think it means?
Okay, I can give you a definition actually. So I believe that a logical fallacy is an error in reasoning that renders an argument invalid. You could also use the definition that it is something. What is another definition? Are errors in judgment and reasoning that will undermine the logic of your argument, or make your argument in any way, or make your argument no longer logically sound. Would you agree?
You're talking about a logical fallacy, right?
Yes.
No limits fallacy?
Yes, I'm talking about a logical fallacy.
Yeah, I would agree. The logical fallacy is when it violates logic itself.
Okay, so why do you think that using the no limits fallacy would not make your argument no longer valid?
All right, so I'll give the classic definition in our community, or the classic example for no limits fallacy. Saitama has never lost, therefore I believe he would never lose.
Mm-hmm.
Would you think that's a no limits fallacy?
Yes.
Okay, why?
Because a no limits fallacy is, let's get the exact definition up so we can have a definition rather than an example. The no limits fallacy is the illogical idea that a poorly understood phenomenon can be extrapolated to infinity or assumed to not have any maximum value or threshold. Would you agree with that definition?
I believe in most cases that's the definition used, so I'm fine with that.
Okay, so that is a no limits fallacy because you're saying since he has never lost, which is the phenomenon, he would never lose, which is the extrapolation. So that directly fits into the definition of a no limits fallacy.
Okay, what law of logic did I breach?
What law of logic did you breach? What do you mean?
So I have to violate logic, and if there's 3 laws of logic. I'm asking you which law of logic did I violate?
We're not referring to the 3 laws of logic, right? We're
a
logical fallacy.
Yeah,
a logical fallacy.
A logical fallacy violates logic.
Yeah, and a logical fallacy is defined as an error in reasoning that would render an argument invalid and no longer makes it logically sound. And that was
Yeah,
the definition that we agreed
the
upon.
soundness. Yeah, that's fine. And the soundness of logic is determined by the three laws of logic.
Based on what?
The proposition of logic itself and the idea behind logic.
All right. What do you think of the three lines of logic?
Do you want me to give you the exact definition, or just?
Yeah, give me all three of them the exact definition.
Okay, the three laws of logic are the law of identity, the law of non-contradiction, and the law of excluded middle.
Mm-hmm.
And for it to be logical, it has to have at least two of those three. So for my case, with the example I provided, I made the assertion. Well, do you know what the law of identity is? Not a trick question.
No.
Okay, so the law of identity is A equals A. Like, that's the proposal. So I would propose, since he has never lost, he would never lose.
Mm-hmm.
Based on the evidence of he has fought, he has engaged, and he has never lost. Now, to negate the law of identity, you would bring it, well, negate's kind of misleading. To check it, you have to have check and balances.
Mm-hmm.
Think of it sort of like the courts, the three courts. The three branches. You have the law of non-contradiction. The contradiction to A equals A is A does not equal A.
Mm-hmm.
And so an example for that would be Saitama has lost.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a direct contradiction, which would mean the law of identity was incorrect. And then the law of excluded or non-excluded middle, or whatever. Let me make sure I have the name right. Excluded middle is just another potential answer. So, like, more than two truth value answers.
Uh-huh.
Let me make sure you have an academic source. So what I'm saying in my proposal, and the reason why the no limits fallacy does not work as a logical fallacy, my proposal for A equals A is he would not lose. He would never lose because he has never lost, and we do have record of this. And it's not contradicted because the contradiction would be he's lost.
Okay. So the first thing I'm going to go over is the exact definition of what it means to be have a logically sound argument. Are you fine with that?
Sure. I might disagree with it, but I'm all for you presenting.
Okay. So according to, hold on, my page is loading.
Okay.
So soundness in logic, according to philosophyindex.com, is, wait for the thing to load. Hello?
Yep.
Okay. So the term sound is most frequently used to describe whether or not an argument is valid and has true premises, thereby guaranteeing the truth of its conclusion. In metalogic, it is also used to describe the feature of a logical system. Soundness of arguments. An argument that is sound is one that is both valid and has all true premises. Therefore, by definition, a sound argument has a true conclusion. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Sure, that's fine.
So then I think that what you're referring to...
I reserve the right to go back because it was kind of a long definition, but...
Okay, well, let me just put it in one sentence for you. An argument that is sound is one that is both valid and has all true premises. Would you agree?
What I would have to ask you is to extrapolate upon what you think checks logic.
Okay, so let's say, for example, an argument is one that is sound that is both valid and has all true premises. By therefore, definition, it has a true conclusion. Okay, so we have, let's say, a burger, right? We know what a burger is. Mm-hmm. And I'm arguing that a cheeseburger is a burger because it fits all of the criteria. Premise 1, it has a bun. Premise 2, it has cheese. Premise 3, it has meat. And premise 3, it has a bottom bun. The top and bottom buns are both referred to as hamburger buns. So that would mean that the argument is valid, as in it fits within the multiple logical systems, and all of my premises have seemed to be true. Would you agree?
Yeah, let me ask you a quick question real quick.
Sure.
You understand what you just exercised is the three laws of logic, right?
Yes, I'm just making sure that we're both on the same page as the what
Yeah,
the soundness of arguments is.
yeah, because a lot of people don't inherently know the
Mm-hmm.
three laws of logic, but once you give an example, they understand. Okay, yeah, this is how it applies. Like it makes sense.
Okay, so
I'm
you
just making sure the people that hear this understand.
uh-huh.
You just exercise the laws of logic.
Okay, so you're now aware that all the premises have to be true and they have to be valid, i.e., or do you want to agree on the definition of validity of an argument? Do you want to go over that next?
So my premise would be has never lost, therefore he would never lose.
No, I'm saying I want to define what it means for something to be a valid argument. Is that fine?
We can go over that if you would like to.
Okay, so the thing that I'm reading and multiple other sources agree with this definition here, and I can provide you those other sources if you wish. An argument form is considered to be valid when no valuation of its terms make all of its premises true and all of its conclusions false. More generally, a valid argument is one which, if all of its premises are true, always produces a true conclusion. Would you agree?
Yeah, based on what information you have to work off of, sure.
Okay. So basically what we agreed upon is that all the premises if all the premises are true and it always produces a true conclusion, that is a valid argument, which means that it is therefore logically sound.
You agree it's off context too, right? Like contextually?
What do you mean by contextually?
So there's certain things you don't know and certain things you do know when you come to logical conclusions. Like there can be outside information that you currently aren't aware of. It doesn't mean you can't try to achieve a logical answer.
I'm sorry, what?
So let's say you're watching basketball, right?
Mm-hmm.
Current NBA season, whatever. I don't know if you follow basketball, but you're watching the NBA, and you've only seen the NBA for 1 year, and you don't know there's been generations of players. So all you really have to operate off of is the current players. So you're like, okay, LeBron's the GOAT. LeBron's the best of all time.
Mm-hmm.
You're making that logical conclusion based off of the information you have. Information you currently don't have is every generational player.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not ignoring that, and you're not like excluding that in your logical conclusion. You're operating off of what you have to work with. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
So as I was saying, so the thing that makes the no limits fallacy a logical fallacy is because it comes from an invalid argument. Therefore, more generally, a valid argument is one which, if all of its premises are true, always produces a true conclusion. So your premises would be, right, that Saitama has never lost. Correct? That would be one of your premises.
Yes. Yeah.
And then your conclusion, therefore, would be Saitama can never lose. Correct?
Therefore, based off premise A, yeah. Oh, also, I would like to side note this. Not up to date on One Punch Man. That's just the classic one.
No, that's fine. It's fine. I get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, do you agree that if someone were to if someone were to say, well, Lucifer Morningstar, he's outerversal. He could just snap Saitama out of existence. That would therefore mean that the premises does no longer produces an always true conclusion. Do you see what I'm going for here?
Yeah, but I don't agree with that.
Okay, why would you not agree with that?
Because mine is contextual. Mine's based on the information I have. The information I have comes from One Punch Man.
The information you have come from One Punch Man, and you're saying because he's never lost within that verse.
Yeah, that's the information I have.
So then we have to go over a couple more things, right? We have to go over things such as we are able to quantify Saitama's most impressive feats at Multicontinental, right? Or let's say, for example, I'm not saying right as in that's a fact, but let's say, for example. And then let's say, right?
Yeah, they would have gotten in your ass, but I just realized like people probably would have gotten pissed if they thought that.
Yeah, it's whatever. So then let's say we have another character whose top limit is solar system, right?
Mm-hmm.
To then say that Saitama would still be able to win because he has never lost, you would then be appealing to possibility, which is in and of itself fallacious. There are multiple things that would be going into a no limits fallacy, because it is also able to be certain aspects of the no limits fallacy is similar to other fallacies, in which you still have to assume things which would no longer make it logically sound. Do you see what I mean? Because of the fact that you still have to make certain assumptions that would no longer make your argument logically sound, and to push certain points of your argument to even get to the point where you're saying, well, he could possibly punch out Lucifer Morningstar because we don't know if he can. That would be you would have to agree that that this is an argument from possibility, because it's possible that he could do something. It means that he will do it.
So, do you think assumption can't be logical?
Do I think an assumption can? I think an assumption with no form of evidence cannot be logical. No.
Okay, so what evidence was I using?
You're using the evidence that Saitama has never lost.
Yeah, which is true.
Mm-hmm. So then what I'm saying is, for you to then be able to extrapolate such a thing, it would be inherently fallacious, because there's nothing to prove that he can never lose, or he can never
Yes, there is.
Okay, what is the evidence that he would never lose?
The fact that he's never lost.
Okay. so this is why it's fallacious. So do you want to? So I'm gonna go into the point to tell you why it's fallacious. Okay.
Yeah, but can I clear something up first?
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't believe right and wrong and illogical and illogical are the same thing.
You don't believe right and wrong and logical or illogical is the same thing?
Yeah.
Well, I never said that. I never said that either.
Yeah, I'm just making sure you know. I'm not coming from that angle that they're the same thing.
Okay. So what I'm saying is that a valid argument is one which, if all of its premises are true, always produces a true conclusion. We've gone over that for the validity of arguments, right?
Yeah, and we agreed on that. Contextual.
And an argument that is sound is one that is both valid and has all true premises. Therefore, by definition, a sound argument has a true conclusion. And we still agree on that, correct?
Yeah, and we also agreed that it's contextual.
Yeah, we've agreed that it's contextual. You can make a logical thing based on what you know. Right?
Like an inference and stuff.
Like an inference and stuff, correct.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing with that is that it would still the conclusion that you're coming to, right, cannot always, or rather it cannot always be what's the word I'm looking for? It cannot always be true, because we know certain things about Saitama, right? We have things that we can build off of, and hence, and by that we're able to reach the conclusion that it is fallacious, because the conclusion is capable of being proven wrong. Hell, we even see him, or excuse me, you do know that Saitama's lost to a fly before, right?
I cleared that up, that I'm not up to date on One Punch Man.
Okay, so how far are you in One Punch Man? Or do you want to use a different? Would it work better if we used a different?
Shit. Floyd. Okay, we'll just go with Floyd Mayweather. Never lost a boxing match.
Okay.
Therefore, he would never lose.
Okay. That's much better.
Did he really lose to a fly?
Yeah, he lost to he couldn't tag the fly, so he wasn't able to.
It's unfortunate, but okay.
Yeah, it's fine. Hold on one moment. I gotta take care of something.
Okay. What's up, Noah? We're currently debating. He has to do something real quick, so it's fine. We're talking. Basically, so far, what we've done is, homeboy dropped out. That's embarrassing on my own recording. Let me go ahead and bring him back in for the people at home. Can you hear me?
Yeah, just dropping my phone real quick.
Alright, let me give you Droid so you can come back up here if you fall out. But basically, we are debating if a no limits fallacy is in itself a logical fallacy. I'm maintaining that my proposition, which you would counter with a no limits fallacy, does not violate laws of logic. It would not make it invalid logically. He's arguing that it is logically invalid. So, and right now we're working through what my proposition would violate logically. Yeah, so you can. We haven't been vicious or anything, so. But you can definitely weigh in and stuff.
Yeah. I don't know if you need me to. I can like hold off if you guys want to do that. I can weigh in at the end, or like if you need me to weigh in.
Well, if this is a recording, so it's fine that you're talking right now.
Oh,
yeah. So it's like passing time while we wait for him. Have you read Yu Yu Hakusho?
Only like 7 times.
How dare you? I'm reading through it right now, and then I'm gonna do a like perfect power scale. I've literally notated every single feat that ever happened. And so I'm hoping to make videos on Yu Yu Hakusho. It's supposed to be one of the GOAT mangas ever.
Yeah, definitely. The writer of it did like a few other series that weren't as cool, but like, yeah. I think he did Hunter x Hunter.
I think his wife did, or his wife wrote. Oh no, his wife wrote Sailor Moon. That's low-key a GOAT family. But yeah, I'm on like chapter 40, I think. Just gonna see, because like Sasuke Hiei was a death battle, and that got a lot of backlash.
I forgot what I was doing for a second.
We're just past time. Noah's one of the worst debaters you'll ever hear, so it's really good to get him here, give his input, so we know that whatever he says, the opposite is likely true. That's how we. No, that actually, I'm not gonna say that because you might agree with me, and then it'd be big bad. Do you happen to hold a stance on? This is gonna be freely judged by like the public, so it doesn't really matter what your stance is. Like, it won't dictate the outcome. Do you have a stance on no limits fallacy?
No, I jump around with fallacies.
Okay. Yeah, I'm saying it's not a logical fallacy because it doesn't violate the law of identity and law of non-contradiction.
All right, sorry, my bad.
You're good. Noah's here, but he's not going to be like a judge or anything. He's just going to hang out.
Okay. So, we good?
Yeah.
Okay. So the thing that I want to go back into is the idea of what were we talking about? The validity, something like that.
Yeah, we just gave the example of
Okay.
Mayweather's never lost, therefore he would never lose.
So the main thing that I want to go back into is how the no limits fallacy makes your argument untrue and invalid.
Like makes it wrong.
Invalid.
Mm.
Based on our definition of validity. So we've already agreed that if an argument is valid only if the premises are true and the conclusion that we reach is always produces a true conclusion, correct?
Can you repeat that? I'm looking at validity right now.
We have validity and soundness, right? Yeah, that's the two things we
I don't know if I feel
discussed.
comfortable with saying validity.
All right, what do you want to say instead?
If like I'm saying that to determine if mine is logical, I would check it with the laws of logic.
Right, and what I said was the way that I would do it is by taking the definition of a logical fallacy, which is something that would make an argument invalid, and then going into what validity is to me. So you're saying that only if it breaks the 3 schools of logic or whatever, that's the only way you would take something as being a logical fallacy. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. If it's logically wrong, it would be violating the laws of logic. So yeah, that would be the threshold I have to reach.
Okay. So where in the definition for logical fallacy does it state that something has to be wrong?
Let me look up definition of fallacy.
Because a logical fallacy is stated to be, and this is the definition that I presented at the beginning, an error in reasoning that renders an argument invalid.
Yeah, and so
we would have
since
hold
on, let me get the logic definition.
Okay.
Yeah, reasoning conducted or assessed according to strict principles of validity. Okay. So I guess we would just have to agree that to check for validity and logic, and in a logical assertion, we would be checking it. The check for validity is the laws of logic, which you seem to agree to earlier.
The checks for validity are the checks for validity is the definition of validity that I gave.
Well, how do you make sure something's logical?
What do you mean? We're not talking about if it's logical or not. We're talking about if it's logically fallacious. And then it's something is logically fallacious if it is an error in reasoning that renders an argument invalid. That's the definition of a logical fallacy.
Yeah. How do you determine if stuff's like an error in logic, within logic?
Hold on. Okay, so if something is logically invalid, if a deductive argument is said to be valid if and only if it takes a form that makes it impossible for the premises to be true and the conclusion nevertheless to be false. That's what we agreed upon, correct?
Hold on, let me double check a definition real quick.
That's fine.
Yeah, so like formal logic, when you're attempting to make a statement based on logic, obviously we would be checking the validity of a logical statement. I can give you this link too if you need it.
Yeah.
We would do so via the laws of logic.
So let's go over you want to go over the laws of logic in this case?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so then once we get into that, I feel like once we pin that down, we can then get onto the invalidity and the logical soundness, and then
I feel like the confusion just might be you don't have like a formal.
So let me ask you this. So let me ask you the first thing. So the law of contradiction is for all propositions P, it is impossible for both P and not P to be true, or symbolically blah blah blah, and which means not, and the dot means and. Would you agree?
Yeah. So in order for A equals A to be true, A does not equal A cannot exist.
Okay. So then, 2, either P or not P must be true, there being no third or middle true proposition between them, or symbolically PV squiggly mark P, in which V means or. Would you agree for that for the law of excluded middle?
Yeah, I also said you need at least 2 of the 3 for it to be logically sound.
Okay. You need at least 2 of the 3. Okay. If a propositional function f is true of an individual variable x, then f is indeed true of x, or symbolically blah, 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 and which means formally implies. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the thing that I disagree on...
I feel like we can skip a lot of filler if I just make this proposition, okay? Here's my proposal to you. In my statement, my law of identity is Mayweather has never lost, A, and the reason for this is he has never lost, the evidence within his right. So A equals A, has never lost because he has never lost.
Mm-hmm.
The law of non-contradiction, what would contradict that is if Mayweather has lost.
Mm-hmm. So
in order for the no, for that to be logically unsound, I need you to prove Mayweather has lost.
Okay, I don't need to prove that Mayweather has lost. All I need to do is show that your thinking violates one of the 3 laws of thought. And the thing that
violating 2 of the 3.
Where is it stated that something has to violate 2 of the 3 for it to be that the only way for me?
I believe it was introduced in the early 1920s.
All right, can you show me that?
Thinking. Yeah. Let me give you that. De Morgan's law, yeah, let me see that. I'll give you a couple links, just so we have them. Also, what would the excluded middle be for another truth value? Would that be stalemate?
What do you mean?
So if my statement is he has never lost, therefore he will never lose, the contradiction would be him losing. The middle, something else like a third party answer would be stalemate.
Yeah, so a third party answer like if he's forced to surrender, if he gives up, things like that. Nothing in the middle can be true.
Yeah, but no. Okay, that's where we're getting confused. No, I would need you to provide that has happened.
I don't have to prove that it has happened. All I need to prove is that there is a possibility of such happening.
Based on what?
Because that means there has to be no third or middle true proposition between them. There can be nothing between the two.
Based on the information we have, correct. And the information we have is his record.
Right, but we do know that Floyd Mayweather can be shot and killed. Or do you disagree?
Within his fighting record?
No. You're saying that Floyd Mayweather can never lose. Or Floyd Mayweather will never lose because he has never lost. Are you talking about only officially in a boxing tournament?
Yeah, like a boxing match.
Okay, so let's say, for example, Floyd's 99 years old. So are you arguing that there's, and he has both of his arms chopped off, both of his legs chopped off, and he has to fight against fucking Victor Drago from Creed 2? Do you believe that? Do you believe? Listen.
He has to pass the fucking damn physical arrow.
I'm just giving you a possibility. I'm saying throwing all that out and we take it to an extreme. Is it possible? Is it possible that he could lose the fight? You're saying it's impossible for him to lose the fight.
Based on the evidence I have, yeah.
Okay.
His fighting record.
Well, then I can provide for you different forms of evidence that prove that he is capable of losing the fight. For example, he's not going to be able to punch back or gain any points, or he probably might be able to gain points. I don't know how boxing works. But he won't be able to fight back against someone who does have arms. Is this true or is this false?
I would say it's irrelevant because he can't fight. He can't be allowed to participate in the boxing.
That's not irrelevant. I'm saying if throwing all the rules aside, right? Okay, so let's do a different analogy. Let's take it back to Saitama. Let's say Saitama. No, this is easier. So I can put it in perspective. to show you why a no limits fallacy is something that is inherently fallacious, right? Because I don't know a lot about boxing, but I do know more about One Punch Man, and since that was the thing that we were on earlier, it's easier to use that. So let's say that the fly instance never happened, right? Okay. But we do know that it is possible that someone exists within the world that who has also broken their limits, right? Someone such as Garo, who could have reached the limits like Saitama has, or someone such as Blast exists who is possibly more powerful than him, and it's possible that he could lose the fight. Do you understand do you understand what I'm going for here?
Can you repeat the last part?
Okay. So by proving that something is possible, right? That would meet the law. That would break the law of excluded middle, which means that there is something between P being true and not P being true, right?
P equals true, P is not equals true.
That's the law of excluded middle. There's nothing that can be in between P being either P has to be true or not P has to be true. There can be nothing between the two of them. That's the law of excluded middle.
Hold on. Are you denying the evidence I was given for you can have two of the three and still come to a logical statement?
Yeah, I still disagree. I still need the scans for that.
Yeah, I've been posting them in regular chat.
Alright, I wasn't even looking.
That's what I was getting confused on.
I didn't even read it yet.
That's on.
What am I looking at exactly? Is there like a specific part you need me to look at, or just read the whole thing?
Hold on. Let me see if I can just get you the direct.
Because I can read the whole thing. It'll just take me a couple minutes.
Let me get De Morgan's Law. I think that's what it's based on. So. Yeah, I believe it'd be propositional logic, officially.
Is that what I need to read?
Yeah, let me see if I can get you a direct. Yeah, propositional logic, you're using two of the three. Negation, like the answer and then negation.
Alright, is that last link the one? Okay. De Morgan's laws describe how mathematical statements and concepts are related through their opposites. In set theory, De Morgan's laws relate their intersection and union of sets through complements. In propositional logic, De Morgan's laws relate conjunctions and disjunctions of proposition through negation. Where in that does it say that something has to violate two of the laws of logic in order for it to be, in order for that then to be invalid?
Negation and the proposition. Those are two of the laws. It's only using the two laws.
Negation and proposition, neither of those are laws.
The law of identity. If I'm proposing A equals A.
Let me look at the law of identity because I'm not quite following here, big dog.
Right,
so
if I
go ahead.
Yeah, my proposal would be P equals P, and the P in this is he has never lost, therefore will never lose. Contradiction or the negation would be he has lost.
Okay, so are you moving away from the three laws of thought then? Because even if you're trying to say,
hold on, let me see if I can just get like a direct statement.
Yeah, because from what I'm understanding, P equals P is true and invalid individual. The law of identity is if a propositional function f is true of an individual variable x, then f is indeed true of x, or symbolically fx is union with fx, and which means the thing means formally implies. Another formulation of the principle of identity asserts that a thing is identical with itself, or a upside down x, or x times x equals x, in which a means for every, or simply that x is x. Correct?
Hold on, I'm sorry, I'm reading something so I can get it for you.
That's fine.
Also, the way you're trying to exercise is excluding middle would be something else with truth value. I'm saying that would be that something else would be three possibilities within a fight: win, lose, draw. The middle would be the draw.
How are you asserting that the middle is the draw?
Because what I'm making my proposition based off of is how the outcomes that are possible within a fight.
Right. So what I'm saying is that the two things that we have here are P or not P. Either he cannot, either in the statement, the thing that you said was Saitama can never lose. Right? So Saitama can never lose, or Saitama can lose. That's P and that's not P. So the idea that Saitama has the possibility of losing would be the middle. Do you see what I mean?
Where are you getting the possibility from?
What do you mean am I getting the possibility from? I explained it.
No, okay, so let me give you an example.
Right. Are you under? I just want to make sure. Are you understanding me? Because I might be the one confusing here.
Yeah, you might be confusing. I'm going to give you an example of, so to see if we both agree on it. So, let's say I sit outside every day, right? And I watch an apple in the tree. Mm-hmm. Every day I watch this little asshole squirrel come over and slap the hell out of that apple, and the apple falls to the ground.
Okay.
So in my head, I see this over and over for like 3 straight months, and I'm like, yo, that apple falls to the ground because that squirrel knocks it to the ground. Every day. One day, I'm reading a book in that same location. Apple falls to the ground. I don't see what knocked it down. What I would do to deduce why that happened is say, okay, every example I have is the squirrel's the reason it falls down. Therefore, I will assume that the squirrel's the one that knocked it.
Okay. So then, your P is this squirrel knocks down the apple. Right?
Yes.
And then
the apple was knocked down by the squirrel because the squirrel always knocked down the apple.
Okay.
That's like, it could be wrong. It could be proven wrong.
Okay, so let me just I just want to make sure I'm here. Make sure I'm hearing you right.
Yeah.
The P is that the squirrel will knock down the apple. The squirrel will always knock down the apple. The squirrel always knocks down the apple, correct?
The P is the apple fell to the ground from the tree because the squirrel always knocked it down. I guess the same thing we're saying.
And then the not P is the apple can fall to the ground because the squirrel didn't slap it. It can just fall because it's ready to fall, right?
Say that again?
So the not P would be, so the P is the apple falls because the squirrel knocks it down. The not P would be the apple fell because of some other reason. Correct?
Yeah. I think so.
So then we know that we know a few things here. We know that for example, the squirrel could die, get eaten by a hawk or something, and then one day another apple falls without the squirrel. Would you agree that that's possible? Or are you saying this is in a complete vacuum and this is the only thing you've ever experienced with nature?
Yeah, that's my only experience.
Okay. I think I see what's going on here.
Yeah, like I could be completely wrong.
Right. No, I see exactly what's going on. Okay. So you're saying in a vacuum, if you know nothing else, then the no limits fallacy would not be fallacious.
Yes.
Okay. We both do understand that people are not constantly living within vacuums. People experience things outside of a single apple and a squirrel, and apparently there's nothing else in existence. Would you agree? People experience things.
Yeah.
And in manga and comics, etc., manga and comics are usually not vacuums. We agree?
I disagree with One Punch people. Those bitches live in a...
Okay, well, they live in a vacuum regardless, you know. So, the context of things and the context of the verse, context of this, that, and the other, you do see how a no limits fallacy would be outside of things that are completely vacuous, would be fallacious because it violates the what is it, the law of excluded middle, which would mean that it's inherently invalid because it is not, because the argument is invalid, and therefore it comes to a conclusion that is not always true. Do you understand?
Sorry, someone texted me.
Okay, I'd say it one more time.
Okay.
Because
I'm not gonna look at my phone. I'm just gonna listen.
no, yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I'm not worried about it. So
Okay.
because these things are not existing within a complete vacuum, devoid of all context, devoid of any other thing that you could take in and form your logical system around, right? For the most part,
no, they can't exist in a vacuum.
right? I'm not saying they can, right? So wait, so you're agreeing that something can be fallacious even within a vacuum as well?
Well, no. It would. Well, obviously, if something's negating right off the bat, yeah. What I'm saying is my vacuum.
Okay.
Hasn't been negated.
So, but we agree that outside of this vacuum, this would be fallacious because it violates the law of excluded middle.
Hold on. No, you would have to exit the vacuum.
Right, that's what I said.
Okay, but my argument is contained within the vacuum. Because my evidence is the vacuum.
Your evidence is the
So
vacuum?
Yeah, like the vacuum itself is my evidence. If you take me out of the vacuum, if you take me out of my actual proposition, I would be wrong. But within my proposition, you are asserting it's illogical, but it's not. It's only illogical if you change it. Changing it would be taking it out of the vacuum.
Okay, so the whole vacuum thing only came in, as far as I'm aware, up until now. Right, you're saying if you have no prior context to something, right? That's the whole thing we talked about. However, what I'm saying is that based on these certain things, these laws of the three laws of thought, right? 3 laws of logic, the things that we went over. We know that when you're taking these things, it is not because your premise was that the no limits fallacy is not a fallacy, right?
It's not a logical fallacy.
Is not a logical fallacy. And my premise is that it is a logical fallacy, correct? Those are the premises that we agreed upon. So what you gave me was not, so it existing within a vacuum is not actually the premise. It's a scenario that was given, right? In order to support your premise, which is it is not a logical fallacy. I think that's where everything got tangled and where everything got confused. Because your premise is still debunked by the fact that I'm able to prove that the no limits fallacy is fallacious under when you have the context of something. And therefore, I have proven it is a no limits fallacy. Or it is not a no limits fallacy, but it is logically fallacious because it violates one of the laws of logic or the 3 laws of thought, and therefore it would have to be fallacious and therefore invalid and no longer logically sound. Within your scenario, you may have proven that the fallacy does not particularly apply, but it's in your scenario proving it does not apply and proving that it is not a logical fallacy are not the same.
So you're saying even though you can't logically apply it to my statement, which is in the vacuum.
Yes.
That doesn't mean it doesn't logically apply.
Right, because
that negates though.
It doesn't negate, because what you did was you proved that it is not fallacious within this specific scenario. To claim something like this although all you're doing is making a claim that does not fit the no limits fallacy. That's all that is. You have not yet debunked the fact that the no limits fallacy is not fallacious, even because it does violate one of the three laws of logic. Do you get what I mean?
So you're saying the no limits fallacy cannot be exercised on my state?
It cannot be exercised on your statement about the about these things existing in a vacuum. However, that does not debunk the fact that it is fallacious. All you're doing is proving that your statement does not fit into the no limits fallacy. It is no.
Statement's logically sound.
Right, but that's not your premise. That's your scenario. Your premise is that the no limits fallacy is not a fallacy.
Why can't you apply the no limits fallacy to my logical proposition?
Because it's in a vacuum with no context.
So,
with absolutely no context. However, I did prove to you that you are able to apply the no limits fallacy using the Saitama example, or using the example of the of everyday life. If you see something, right, you see in everyday life that a squirrel makes an apple drop, and you know that gravity can also make things, or not gravity, but things such as the apple being ripe or ready to be picked, or another animal, etc., interfering with it can also make it drop. That would then therefore mean that by saying that the squirrel is the only thing that can make an apple drop, that is fallacious because it violates the school of the law of excluded middle. Because there are possibilities in between the squirrel being the only thing to make something drop and the squirrel not being able to make it drop. There's something in between.
Okay, I have something very important for this discussion. I found the formal application of what I was trying to apply earlier. It's syllogism. It's a logical argument. It's my logical argument that applies deductive reasoning to arrive at a conclusion based on two or more propositions that are asserted or assumed to be true.
Okay, a proposition and the logical forms of thought are not the same.
Yeah, so I use logic in my statement on Saitama.
So, an instance of form of reasoning in which a conclusion is drawn, whether validly or not, from two given or assumed premises, each of which shares a term with the conclusion and shares a common or middle term not present in the conclusion. All dogs are animals. All animals have 4 legs. Therefore, all dogs have 4 legs. That's a syllogism, correct?
Is that the example given?
Yes.
For a syllogism?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. So, once again, this doesn't prove that you need to violate 2 lines of logic in order to prove something to be logically invalid. That's not what a syllogism is. A syllogism is an instance of a form of reasoning in which conclusions are drawn from 2 given or assumed propositions, right? But it would still even though you may be using a syllogism to prove to present your conclusion, it would still violate the one of the 3 laws of logic that you presented earlier, that being the law of excluded middle. Other than that, do you have any other points that you want to go over? Because I think I'm done. I don't want to take too much of your time, and I saw it's been about 30 minutes.
So would you say no, we always go over the 30-minute mark. I told you this. Do you think syllogism or syllogism, I'll butcher it, is a logical statement?
Do I think that it's a logical statement?
Yeah, it's logical reasoning.
What do you mean? Do I think that all dogs are animals, all animals have 4 legs, therefore all dogs have 4 legs?
Yeah, do you think that was logical?
I think that it can be logical. I think that it can be logically valid, correct? Yes. But it can also be illogical. It can be logically invalid as well. And this is also stated in the definition.
Okay, yeah, that's where we disagree. I'm saying it's logical.
Well, in the definition, I never said that it at the same time. I'm saying that a syllogism can be like, For example, if you said this sun has an Earth around it. The sun is a star. All stars has a planet like Earth around it. That would be an invalid conclusion, right? Because we know that there are more things to come. That there are more things that go into things like stars, astronomical bodies, etc., etc. However, if you were to say all wiener dogs have a certain snout general shape, something like that, and you were to come to a conclusion like that, it could be valid. But even in the definition of syllogism, it states that the conclusion that is drawn, it is possible for it to be invalid. To quote, an instance of a form of reasoning in which a conclusion is drawn, whether validly or not.
Yeah, okay, so there we go. So, validity, soundness / being right, it doesn't have to equate to logical.
I didn't say anything about it being right.
You can come to a logical conclusion and not be right.
I'm not talking about right or wrong. I'm talking about valid and invalid.
You don't think something valid means something that's right?
No.
Okay,
Like for example, if someone said something mean to my little brother and he punched him in the face, I'd be like, yeah, that's valid, that's cool, but that wasn't the right thing to do. Those two things don't have to coincide with each other to be right or wrong.
Okay, I'll change right or accuracy. Accurate. Correct.
Okay, so are you saying that something has to be correct or incorrect to be valid and invalid?
I'm saying, do you think something being correct or incorrect means logical or illogical?
No.
Okay.
Like for example,
I think we might
if
RKO ourselves into like two different thought spaces.
Yeah, because I'm just saying that those you don't have to be. Yeah. So, are there any other points that you want to go into?
So I would be proposing that my sample and what I'm providing as my statement, it's logical, but it can not be right, but it can still be logically arrived at. So I think a no limit fallacy doesn't prove it's illogical. The way you would try to use a no limit fallacy in principle is to prove I could be wrong, not that I'm illogical.
All right.
You can prove someone's wrong without proving they're illogical, like my Apple example.
Okay. Is that it? Are we ready to go to conclusions?
Are you contesting that?
Am I contesting what?
That statement I just made.
With the statement about you can be incorrect and be logical?
Yes.
Do I think that you can be incorrect and be logical? Yes. That's fine. You can come to a logical conclusion and still be incorrect about something.
Yeah, and I'm saying a no limits fallacy isn't checking for logic. It's checking for being right, being correct.
Okay. So that's fine. So we both made our points on this. I'm ready to go to conclusions. I think you started.
I don't want you to drop the point, though.
No, I'm not dropping the point. I've already addressed it.
How do you feel you addressed?
Well, I'll tell you my conclusions. Because I've already addressed that point. So there's no need for me to restate the point.
Like summarize.
Okay.
Your addressed it.
So I've told you how we can come to conclusions like we discussed this earlier, where in a vacuum, if you have no other things to go off of, right, it would be logical to say, well, I've only ever seen this happen ever in my entire life, right? I've only ever seen this apple fall from a tree via a squirrel, which means that anytime an apple falls from the tree, I'm assuming this same squirrel is knocking it off, because that's the only thing I've ever experienced. That is a logical conclusion, right?
Yes.
However,
absolutely, yeah.
once again, this is the thing that I'm saying is you're simply proving a single scenario to be true. Being a logical fallacy does not mean
I'm not
that
proving it to be true. I'm not proving it.
well, proving whatever you're saying, it would just mean that that specific example does not fit the definition of a no limits fallacy. And that's what I meant by I've already addressed the point. By saying that it is possible to...
Alright, so what I'm saying is I made a logical statement. I came to that statement using logic, and the no limits fallacy doesn't prove if it's illogical or not. It's just checking for it to be correct or incorrect. Like the Saitama statement I'm making, the way you would try to prove me incorrect is by showing your, who'd you say in the beginning? Lucifer. That is outside of my argument. That is outside of my proposition based on what I have. You are literally introducing something new.
Right.
Within the information I have, I am logical. I might be wrong based on information I don't have.
Okay. So
that doesn't make it fallacious. That makes it wrong.
Right. I've already like I said, I've already addressed it. So.
Do you agree with that?
Yes, I've told you that if things are in a vacuum with no other facts to build off of, it means that it wouldn't fit the no limits fallacy. I agree to this. We've like I said, we went over this point twice.
So would you try to apply the no limits fallacy to my argument?
No, because it just doesn't fit the no limits fallacy.
So if my argument was Saitama would never lose because he has never lost, you would not try to apply the no limits fallacy.
If you don't know anything else about One Punch Man, I would not try to apply the no limits fallacy because it doesn't fit the no limits fallacy.
Okay, so it's not illogical. It's not about logic. It's just about checking if something's right or wrong. It's not about the logic thing.
All right. We've gone over this for the third.
I'm not trying to confuse you.
I'm not confused at all. I'm comprehending you've said it. Like every time you've said it, I've comprehended it. And I've told you that I've comprehended it, and I've already told you that I've addressed the point. So I'm not confused. I just don't know. I am confused, but I'm confused as to why we're going over the same point again and again and again when I've said I've addressed it. So I think that the point has already been.
Do you think the argument I just made for Saitama never losing? Do you think it's a no limits fallacy?
No.
Okay, that's fine with me.
Okay.
I'm comfortable with it.
So you started. So do I conclude first?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So my opponent, I believe I won this debate because my opponent has failed in every regard to prove that the no limits fallacy is not fallacious. I've proved instances where the no limits fallacy can be applied to prove that it's fallacious. My opponent seemed to get stuck upon specific scenarios that would simply just not fit into a no limits fallacy. At no point was he able to disprove that his argument was fallacious, or that the no limits fallacy proved something to be fallacious. Rather, he simply gave me scenarios in which the no limits fallacy would not necessarily apply. And because my opponent was never capable of disproving that it not only made something logically fallacious, but also proved it to be invalid because it would force something to violate one of the schools of the laws of logic, and therefore make the argument itself invalid and the premise not always true. I believe that I won this debate on every point that I brought up. And I'm done.
Alright. I forgot Arrow goes hard on his conclusions. Alright, so for my conclusion, my argument was that the no limits fallacy when applied is not checking for logic to be logical or illogical. It's checking for right or wrong, which are not the same thing. My opponent said he wasn't confused, but I felt he was confused about that because we argued about the Saitama example, and I asked him, and we agreed to argue upon that for the no limits fallacy, and then I asked him, is that a no limits fallacy? He said no, and since he can't use that to prove it's illogical, what he's actually trying to prove is right or wrong, it is not checking for logical validity. Therefore, the no limits fallacy is not a check on logic. It is actually just a check on right or wrong. Right or wrong, logic and illogic, as I demonstrated within this debate, my opponents seem to agree on that it's not the same thing. Therefore, the no limits fallacy is not served as a logical tool. it is served to check right or wrong, and therefore it does not prove a statement is illogical. It just proves it is right or wrong, or it is tried to use to argue from that point, not from a logic-based stance. So therefore, I believe I beat my opponent on all of those points and proved that the no limits fallacy is not a logical tool. It's actually just a right or wrong check. Good debate, Arrow.
Good debate.
I know No Luck was heated as shit at both of us during this debate.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe
I do have
maybe
to. I do have to step out though.
Again.
Maybe we'll revisit, but I have to dip out.
Yeah, and then I don't know if you'd ever be interested in another fictional debate, but I'm down if you are, because those are fun too. So.
Alrighty, I'll let you know.
All right, buddy. Well, it was good debating with you, and I'll get you this file, and I'll be posting this.
Alrighty, later.
All right, see you.
Splash got worse. Splash got so much worse. I thought, okay, let me be honest with y'all boys. I have a confession to make.
Hold on. I need you guys to retweet this. Alright, I'm starting beef on Twitter.
I'll fucking join you.
Like and retweet, please. Arrow, please.
Come on, dog.
Thanks.
I'm just not some tack dog.
Listen.
Calls me a pussy, but hides his behind a keyboard. Damn, you're bloodlusted.
Listen. You guys can clown him in the comments too if you want. I don't care. Just don't be.
I'm calling him a nigger right off the bat.
No, okay. Don't be a Neanderthal is all I ask.
What's this guy saying?
He's saying that he's making that dumbass Wonder Woman argument. Well, actually, he was telling me I didn't understand Superman because Superman fucking committed suicide against Doomsday because that's what Superman's supposed to do. I was like, you fucking idiot. He said Superman is selfless regardless if it was kryptonite, which he knows hurts. Killing this beast and saving the world is more important to him. It's his job to do it, so he did it. You should know that about him. I was like, and I said, what does that have to do with the fact that it was a pointless death because Wonder Woman could have defeated Doomsday herself? It's just bad writing. There wasn't a no other option scenario presented in the film, unlike in the source material. He's a moron.
Hold on. You said she's resistant to kryptonite? She isn't?
Yes, she is? Huh?
No, she isn't. Just doesn't do anything. It's just, she's not Kryptonian.
Okay.
Not resistant
Excuse me, Zong.
Come on, you know I like it.
Alright, anyway.
Arrow, you're not going to hit me with a retweet here? Come on.
I already did.
Listen, all I see is a like.
Oh my god. I literally liked and retweeted this shit, nigga.
It says
Oh,
only
wait, no,
Zong
I
did.
didn't.
Yeah, of course, only on you.
Anyway, so Splash has gotten so much worse. And let me tell you the funny part, right?
No, did you record it or not?
I did not.
Fuck you.
He's sending me the recording though, and he's gonna post it on his YouTube channel, which I think is an awful idea for him. But
Whatever.
I thought he was beating my ass at first. I thought I was getting fucking slapped by Splash, right?
I told you.
And then I'm like, wait a second. This dude's a retard. So he was like, so the debate was prove that the no limits fallacy is, I said that his premise was it is not a no limits or not a fallacy, and I said that it is, right? So then he said, okay, so if I read this if I read One Punch Man, right? And all I know is that Saitama has never lost to anyone in the verse, and I say that he will never lose, right? Then that means that the no limits fallacy just doesn't exist. And that was fucking me up for a long time because I guess my brain was having trouble like buffering around it. But then I was like, okay, wait. Are you saying that in a vacuum with no other facts present, if you say this thing, that means that it's not a fallacy? He said yes. And I said, Splash, that's just proving that the statement that you're making does not fit the no limits fallacy. That does not prove that the no limits fallacy is not fallacious. And he just couldn't get it. He just couldn't understand.
But he thinks he won.
He thinks he won. But that, listen, like once you hear the recording, you'll hear that it's fucking me up as I'm trying to wrap my brain around these things that he's saying to me. And then once it clicks, I fucking annihilate him. All right, good commentary, guys. Thank you. I love telling you guys about my day.
Listen, we're all trying to process this.
No, fuck you.
I'm not sure what the fuck's going on.
I just hopped in.
I need to see I need to see the receipts. I need to see the fucking debate.
I just told you what happened.
I know, but I want to see it for myself. You know.
Takes like 10 minutes to get the old brain a churning.
Listen,
Explain it again.
You know my brain is not that big, you know.
Is it part blood?
Whoa.
He's no Zong, that's for sure.
We know here.
Isn't that right, Zong? He's no you, right, big dog?
What's Eric saying?
Right.
I said he's no Zong, am I right? Alright, fuck y'all then.
Alright, look, Eric, just explain the splash here. What was this point that he made that you just tried to wrap your head around but couldn't?
He said that if something happens in a vacuum with no other facts, and I stated something, would you be able to call it a no limits fallacy? And I said no. And then he said that means that the no limits fallacy is not fallacious. And that took me a minute to understand, like, what the fuck he was saying. But then when I did, it was just, oh my god, it was awful. He also tried to use syllogism to prove that you needed to violate 2 of the laws of thought in order for something to be logically invalid.
Zong's brain is just...
Yeah, I'm telling you.
It's caving in on itself trying to understand this logic that Splash was using.
And I think you guys are going to think that I'm exaggerating, but I promise you. Like, let me give you the other example he gave. I was like, what if he was like, okay, what if I go to a park every day and I see a squirrel. And every day this squirrel knocks down an apple, right? And I see it, right? And then he said, okay, so what if one day I'm reading the paper and I see the apple fall and I assume that the squirrel did it? And I was like, okay, well, we know a few things. We know the squirrel can die. We know that there's gravity if the thing is right. And he said, no. What if I've only ever seen an apple fall via the squirrel? And I was like, so you live in this vacuum where the only thing you've ever seen is this squirrel knock over an apple? And he says, yes. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Okay. See, the thing is,
What were y'all debating?
If the no limits fallacy is a fallacy.
Well, of course.
okay, I know this is a fallacy, but like, it's kind of in the fucking name, right?
Naming fallacy.
Didn't you mean? Isn't this the position fucking all Sunday debate splashed on?
Damn it, I'm so far away from Chad.
You a big Sunny fan? You follow his Twitter or something? Bitch.
So, Arrow, did you at least record it or no?
It got recorded and it's up to Splash to upload it. But I fucking raped him.
He's gonna fucking edit that bitch. Sounds like
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
He's probably not going, or maybe he might just not upload it at all.
If he did, I would go crazy.
he edited it, make it look like he.
Drew would go rabbit.
I would
Rabbit.
I would just start foaming at the mouth immediately.
He's gonna edit, like he's gonna cut out all your audio and put caveman noises.
It's fucking Chewbacca sounds.
It's just the sound of
Time
Drew.
beats
And then he-
Talon's his first match. He's up against you.
Man.
This is so sad.
Finally, I appreciate the like and the retweet, big dog. You know, I appreciate the support out here. I need my shooter times.
I honestly thought that Splash would have improved. I didn't think he would fucking gentrify, get worse.
Listen, he's been debating the Neanderthals in his server for months. He's been out of the game.
I mean, to be fair, like,
Ever
he's not even
since,
really in the game since Noodles destroyed him.
Ever since Seth's server went down, he hasn't debated anyone good. He's just been debating morons. So no duh, he hasn't gotten any better.
It's fucking victory has defeated you.
That's such a good quote. It's such a good one.
Honestly, I'm so surprised he's around after that Noodles video.
Well,
Garrett,
And he's
when
trying
you
to act, and
debated
he's
him
trying to
on
be
Dark
cool
Knight,
with me
and
now.
he
I don't know
just
why.
needed to go.
Wait, what?
Oh, I interrupted. Go ahead, Smiley.
Derek, you remember when you debated him, Splash, on The Dark Knight, and then you
Yeah.
used...
we were talking about that earlier. I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to. Let's debate this another time.
Did you guys ever finish that one, or did you just leave it alone?
You never rescheduled it. I asked.
Yeah, man. Noodles happened.
Noodles didn't happen until months later.
Yeah, no. That's just how bad it was.
I mean, even if Noodles didn't happen, he was never coming back to that
Oh
anyway.
yeah, that was never happening. Which is kind of annoying, right? Because I've never heard Splash debate anywhere. And all I have is stories from you guys saying he's so shit.
No, I'll never forget. Like, Garrett tried to use that Dark Knight movie that was canon, that knowing himself that was canon. He's like, wait, you can't use that. That's not the movie. But it's canon. It's not the movie.
I don't see Christian Bale. Alright, fucking caveman.
You said you were using the movie. You said you were using that movie, Batman.
Oh, that's what he kept saying. This isn't Christian Bale. You said Christian Bale back.
Can you hold on? Regarding that, can you explain? All right, hold on. I'm gonna post a GIF from the scan channel.
You said Christian Bale. I don't see Christian Bale. Splash. Put me in a Cro-Magnon.
Now, couldn't you argue that this is just the kid's interpretation of the event, so it's not exactly 100%?
Yeah, that'd be up to my opponent to say.
Well, oh my God. Hypothetically, I'm your opponent. What would you say? Like that specifically, where that
You'd have to
laser
prove
beam
that.
that-
You'd have to prove that it is.
Batman's not a robot.
That could be a different suit that he doesn't use in the other movies.
There's no evidence of that's the case.
Wait, Garrett, you said you're using Christian
And
Bale.
in
That's not Christian Bale.
this movie, it's the same event like that we see from all the different kids' perspectives, and he is different every time. He's like some monster. He's some, and even the real Batman that we eventually see in the movie he looks like the TNBA Batman. He doesn't even look like the Dark Knight Batman.
So basically, Garrett was cheating.
Wait, LP,
I wasn't cheating. I didn't even use that scan.
LP, what do you mean that it's all the same event that the kids are describing? They're not.
It
They're
is.
talking about, no, it's not the same
It's
event. They're talking about Batman.
It's the same. It is. It's the
No,
same
they're talking
guy,
about
the same
Batman.
goon.
No,
Huh?
they're talking
What do you
about
mean?
Batman.
Throughout the movie, that goon, the dude who's shooting him in that GIF, what the kids are recounting, each individual kid is the same caper, but they're seeing Batman through a different perspective every time. It's like one kid sees him as this big feral monster, one kid sees him as this robot, but the whole time it's one case where Batman is trying to apprehend the same goon.
Wait, no. I mean, there's only two where he's trying to apprehend some guy. This one and another one. And, like, in one, he's training. In the other, he's fighting, like, scared.
No, I get that. All that stuff is fine. But for that short with the kids talking, it's the same. Like it's the course of the same thing. So the suit argument would be weird because then it's not even about the suit.
It would be a different. These are different events.
What are you talking about?
Are you saying that these are the same event happening in different viewpoints?
Not the exact same event. Like they're both not there watching the same thing, but it's over the course of the same day that Batman is trying to apprehend.
Did True kick me from the fucking scan channel? Can someone send me an invite, please?
The ones about like the bullet reflecting shit and him training, that's whatever. Those are different shorts. They're canon, sure, but this short about the guy, about like the kids seeing Batman in different like lenses.
Oh yeah. Okay. So the thing about that
over
is
the course of like hours.
Yeah.
Right? That's over the course of one thing.
But
So
we've seen Batman operate for hours in The Dark
No,
Knight.
no,
and
I'm not saying that. But if he's saying the suit, he's changing suits mid.
Oh no. So the main thing about this is that the idea is that it's like a stylistic like interpretation of what is seen.
Oh, you're saying
So
that
all we know is that he's
guy
really fast.
And this second scan are the same.
Yes, it's the kids are seeing it at different times, but it's the same day. That's what I always interpret.
I would just argue that they're seeing Batman a different way, but the feats would still be applicable.
I mean, I guess.
But like the whole thing was he was just saying that but you can't use it because it didn't have any actual movie.
Hold on, wait. I have one question, bro.
That's not
The
fire.
one
I
scan
know
the
what that
Gareth
guy
did
was saying.
use. The one scan.
I mean,
Gareth
that's
did
just
use
how
was
I would argue it
okay?
if I was in an actual debate. I didn't have to do that against Flash though, because he was.
That's not Christian Bale.
When I sent him the one where he's like fighting all those dudes at once.
Where he feels no pain.
This one here.
You know how Splash does a lot of like Naruto content?
Wait, when did he do Naruto?
He just DM'd me and said, "Good debate, buddy." Does he think we're friends?
I mean,
Yeah.
Arrow, I think he's trying to be friends with you now.
Do you think Batman just lost the skill between like this and The Dark Knight Rises because he gets stabbed by Talia and he's clearly kind of shooken?
I mean, he was off for 8 years.
I mean, right after he got stabbed, though, he's like, he gets back up and he's all right.
He's kind of all right.
Yeah. I mean, this.
He's like, I'm fitting to head out.
How many years is it between the movies?
8 years.
Seven or 8.
Yeah, so it would have been like,
Dude,
It's
had
long
him
enough
train
for
that
him
all
to
for
get
8
rusty.
years.
yeah, it would have been a while. So, but he just fucking eviscerate. I love this scan.
Kicks a guy so hard he vomits.
The like backflip. He's just destroying these dudes. And he was, I don't have the scan. I need to get it though. He was like staying up for like 3 days straight, like sitting on spikes.
Yeah. One of the shorts, the one with I think Scarecrow in the sewers, that was written by Goyer, so it's like the most credible in regards to the Nolan verse.
Yeah.
And it has like it uses, I think it uses the girl who had her mom in the hospital. That character is prominently featured in that short.
I haven't seen it in a while, but it's cool that like these other characters exist in some way in that verse. Like
Yeah, Killer Croc exists.
and Deadshot.
Yeah, which solidifies the Dark Knight Rises reference, where it's like they asked me if I saw any giant alligators. Batman's probably like, yeah, that's valid.
Yeah, it's cool. I like it. Thanks for the invites, boys, into this scan.
So, Arrow, one other thing I'm going to ask you too, dude. How come Splash wanted to make you Black Beard? What the fuck?
He's scared. He didn't want to
Yeah,
get
he has a
clowned.
ruined reputation.
I mean, more than's already been ruined.
I don't like losing to you isn't an anti. Like if it was some random, I could see why, right?
Yeah, no, I'm saying, but Arrow said that losing his reputation, like, you mean more than's already been ruined, dude? Like, what?
I mean, I was random when I beat Arrow.
That was true.
We don't really talk about that. We just sort of both accept it and move on.
That's crazy.
Hey Diggs, what do you think of them Pistons?
What about,
They're 1-0.
are they actually?
Yes. Andre Drummond.
The Pistons?
Andre
Okay,
Drummond had 36 and 23 last night.
Who'd you guys play?
Not the Hornets. Who the fuck did we play? Let me check. I didn't
You
watch the
know who
game.
they
Oh, we
played.
played the Pacers. We played the Pacers. Yeah. We played the Pacers. The Pacers.
Don't
Yo,
even
the
remember
Pacers
the-
aren't. Listen, the Pacers aren't bad. All right.
Yeah, but they don't got Depot, so who cares?
We didn't have Blake Griffin.
Yeah, well, you know the Pacers completely fell the fuck apart without Depot. They went from being a third seed to like what? Swept.
Do you agree that my last stream was a good skill shot?
For you?
And the Pacers.
To a kite in a lightning storm.
What the fuck?
Sorry, I was trying to. I
A
thought
good skill showing for you or good skill showing for Snake?
For me.
It was pretty good.
Arrow, why are you still streaming and fucking that Anime X server?
They asked me to debate. They tagged me.
Arrow, why didn't you join this tournament in Superhero Friends?
People just concede when I go into tournaments.
I won't, bitch.
Alright, but will you debate me on anything other than the MC or DCU?
Yeah,
Oh, what do you want to debate
What
on,
about
dog?
that Naruto debate y'all been playing for?
I offered, but I forgot all my scaling and deleted it. So, you know. All right, who am I debating now?
NordVPN got hacked? That's unfortunate.
I'm gonna have to debate Ty round 2.
I'm gonna feed him all of my best scaling. He's gonna pop up with fucking Eins.
So, what do you guys think?
Of what?
These arpeggios.
These arpeggios. What?
Base term.
Well, just a musical term in general.
In this context.
Yes.
All about that bass.
Y'all trying to play some D&D?
Yo, I am, but we can't play without half the people here. Ty, Chad, True, Isk.
We don't need them.
But are y'all really trying to play some rap battles, boys?
Put on
Not
Quiplash.
rap battles.
Quiplash is better.
We can play Quiplash if you guys
You
want.
have to
Okay.
buy the game.
He already has
Nah,
it.
I have the game, which means everybody has the game.
Ah.
I'm finna fucking dominate you pussies. I'll finally prove that I am indeed the funniest member of the Akatsuki. Alright, got mighty silent when I said that.
Hold on. This time
We were all trying to hold in our laughter. Yeah.
Yeah, because he's so funny, right? But
Are you coming at me, man?
this time when we play, can we actually start with the weirdest fuck names?
Listen, as long as Eli's not playing, I think we're good.
Okay, no, but the thing is, every time.
Wait, y'all played with Eli before?
Listen, it was cancer.
Why would you play with Eli?
He was here, and like we try not to be rude, you know. Try to be nice. Shit doesn't always work out. All right, quick flash. I am loading it. Right. Oh fuck! That was loud. Ah! Holy shit!
That was very loud.
That was the loudest echo I've ever heard in my life.
That was way too loud. My bad, guys. Play game. All right. The code is EOQJ.
Okay, but yeah,
Where do we go?
you need to give us
Jackbox.tv.
No, Garrett, you need to link us or to stream the thing because we can't see the screen.
I don't think you need to, do you?
Yeah, we need to see it. So
Not
stream
for
it.
Quiplash, you don't.
Yes, you do. What's the 4-letter code?
I don't think you do.
Stream it.
EOQJ.
When you have fucking lolly porn pulled up, just stream it.
Well, if I stream it, you'll see my answer.
Oh.
It's too difficult.
If you stream the Quiplash and the Jackbox,
Hold on.
It's difficult.
All right. Is that everyone?
Yeah.
What do I go to?
Yeah.
What website?
Jackbox.tv.
Four-letter code. What is it?
EOQJ.
You finna stream this hoe or not?
EOQJ.
Man, fuck it, boys. Pull up the video chat.
Get on this point.
I can't do that. I'm on my computer.
All right, fuck you, pussy.
Why can't you do a video chat on your computer?
You already know.
Alright, so Garrett got some shit.
Wait, fuck. Who entered first? Dickweed?
Huh?
Whose name is Dickweed?
It's probably LP.
That's
Dickweed.
me.
You have to hit everyone's in.
It's Smiley.
Okay.
Yeah, nice try, Era. Fuck you, dog.
Errol, why you always had to assume it was LP, huh?
What's up?
Sounds like LP.
It does sound like
That's
LP.
Look,
That's
I've
not-
been telling y'all low-key Smiley the biggest dickhead here. Like, nobody realizes.
Are you gonna
Yeah, I don't-
stream it or what?
I don't think I need to.
Oh my god.
Okay, look, here, we'll just see if we need to. And if we do,